Hi, I'm Ted Nelson, coming to you at twilight on the 17th of May, 2013. Tonight's plan? To reveal the identity of Satoshi Nakamoto, creator of Bitcoin. Thousands of people would like to know who really created Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a non-centralized system of people's digital money and the system of software that carries it out, created by a person or persons unknown. Now, most people call Bitcoin a virtual currency, but I call it electronic gold. Like gold, Bitcoin has no central authority. Like gold, anyone can recognize it and test it. Like gold, anyone can mine it if they have the resources. Like gold, there will always be a limited supply, and thus its value will increase. And like gold, Bitcoin is brilliant. Bitcoin is brilliant at every level. Intricately thought out, cunning and multifaceted. It has a multi-level cryptographic system. It has structures of motivation for users and builders and operators that work up, down, and sideways. It even has a scripting language for multi-party transactions. And 5 years down the line, it's holding up extremely well. As many know, Bitcoin was created by an anonymous individual or individuals who, like the Lone Ranger, went away unidentified and left only the silver bullet of the extraordinary software that runs it. Open source, clever, and deep. Like everyone else, I refer to him familiarly as Satoshi, what we call in English his first name, but when I tell you his real name, it will be with more respect. The story is this. In 2008, an article appeared under the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto, expounding a possible non-centralized digital money based on cryptography. Shortly thereafter, Satoshi released the software and started the ball rolling by creating the first 50 bitcoins, and those who paid attention saw a new way of making money. Literally. So a gold rush began that has rolled on, gathering steam ever since. The first real Bitcoin purchase was a pizza for 10,000 bitcoins. What a pizza it must have been. That pizza now has a retroactive value of $1,150,000. The real Satoshi Nakamoto, yes, he is a man, has always known he'd be outed. The question was when and by whom. But despite a kind of treasure hunt for him by thousands of fans in the New Yorker magazine, he's evaded recognition remarkably well. Satoshi is incredibly brilliant, seeing and dealing magnificently with all aspects of a huge problem. Bitcoin, a huge problem with many facets, all of them covered. I compare him to Isaac Newton, one of the greatest scientists of all time, who also, coincidentally, ran the mint. I feel a special kinship to him. I don't have his brains or his capabilities. No, I am not Satoshi Nakamoto. But I too work alone on issues others do not recognize beyond the boundaries of others' accepted reality. I know how it feels to be the only person in the world who understands something, both the ecstasy and bitterness of it, being all alone amongst beautiful stuff, having no one to share it with, and others sneering. Also, like Satoshi, I do not bother much with conventional academic publishing and similarly count on posterity to understand and prove me right, since the present world doesn't get it. To work alone this way takes insight, determination, and chutzpah, and no clinician could distinguish our condition from paranoia. Only posterity can sort it out. As Woody Allen says, posterity is the religion of the intellectuals. So my search for Satoshi is kind of like looking for a long-lost brother, thinking he will appreciate my work and thinking I know better where to look. The others who've looked for Satoshi have been looking under the streetlights, searching for Satoshi among cryptographers and internet figures, obvious places, public spaces, rather like police lineups where he isn't. He's in the long grass, and he plays a long game. So I searched in a different way. I've asked, what would Sherlock Holmes have done? Sherlock Holmes would try to enter the mind of the perpetrator. He has struck once, he will strike again, and he will stop at nothing. Watson, what we are facing on the loose is a cunning, determined, relentless serial benefactor. I say, Holmes, but what makes you think you can find his identity and unmask him? In order to unmask him, Watson, we must divine his modus operandi, his signature, his standard caper. If he then does the same thing in the clear, under his own name, it will let slip the real identity of Satoshi Nakamoto. But, Holmes, we have only one singular event, the Bitcoin donation. How can you abstract his nature from that one instance and foresee his next attack of benevolence? Elementary, Watson. Conan Doyle always let me invent correct hypotheses out of nothing since he knew the answer already. And since I know the answer already, I can as always pretend to deduce it. Holmes, your genius never fails to amaze me, blah, 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 blah. What is it, Watson, that will give Satoshi away? What will give him away is what he gives away. Holmes, you speak in riddles. Elementary riddles, Watson. Satoshi's standard caper is to give the world a whole new extraordinary cosmos that no one has seen before, flinging it down in front of posterity and leaving. He does not publish through conventional academic channels. He politely says goodbye and he tiptoes away on his next secret mission. That is the dance we may call doing the Satoshi. So when he strikes again, and he will, we look for a mystifying and extraordinary work of great breadth, flop down in front of some community of thought, a work dazzling to specialists, but which he does not bother to publish through conventional academic channels, and then his signature getaway of not deigning to discuss. When he strikes again with such a caper in the clear under his own name, we shall know Satoshi's true identity. Sheer genius, Holmes. It takes one to catch one. So that is how Sherlock Holmes would do it, looking for the pattern, aided by an author who already knew the answer. In that tradition, I have arranged for Holmes to be right. In August 2012, 9 months ago, as I speak, Satoshi struck again. Once more, he gave the world a magnificent gift, far from the work of anyone else, in exactly the same way, but under his own name. He did not publish it through conventional academic channels. He just put it on the net. He left the specialists in the field mystified in the dust and did the Satoshi, dancing away, saying he had other things to do. So, as they say on the TV show Wheel of Fortune, I'd like to solve the puzzle. I declare that the true identity of Satoshi Nakamoto, the great economist, the great social engineer, the great computer scientist, and the dance-away genius, is none other than Shinichi Mochizuki, research professor of mathematics at Kyoto University. In August 2012, he published what he says is a proof of an important conjecture of mathematics, the ABC conjecture. I couldn't begin to explain it, but it has left the field of professional mathematicians gasping. In the 500 pages of this work, he has invented a vast new system of mathematical structures that nobody else ever heard of, including inter-universal Teichmüller theory, and my favorite new word, Frobinioids. And now the community of mathematics is stuck trying to figure it all out, which, because of his eminence in the field, they must, a task which may take the rest of them many years. But he didn't submit it to mathematical journals the way you're supposed to. He just threw it on the net. He was asked to lecture on it, and he refused. Instead, he just tiptoed away, saying he had nothing more to say about it, just as he did in 2011, after giving the world Bitcoin. But you may ask, what about his command of English? People have doubted he was Japanese because of his superb English writing style. How could somebody with a super Japanese name like Shinichi Mochizuki write such deep and subtle English? The answer to this ethnocentric cluckery is right there in Wikipedia. When Mochizuki-san graduated from Princeton, he was the class salutatorian. That's the guy who comes before the valedictorian. Sadly, he was only number 2 in his class, probably because he hurried through Princeton in 3 years. To be salutatorian at Princeton means you're likely to be a writer of damn fine English. Now, combining that with the formidable Japanese work ethic and his formidable mind, we begin to see a man who seems to do what for others would be a lifetime of work every 3 years or so, and presents it richly and subtly to the English-speaking world where most science happens now. It's interesting that his homepage is in English, though his university is at the heart of Japan. So I say Satoshi Nakamoto was and is Shinichi Mochizuki, or as he will be called in Japan, Mochizuki Shinichi. I cannot say QED to that because I have not proven it, but I have presented an existence proof that there exists a very similar man with very similar brilliance and a very similar style of Lone Ranger delivery of big stuff who has recently given the world another extraordinary universe they're not ready to understand and has moved on like Satoshi to his next task. My conclusion that Satoshi and Mochizuki-san are the same is consistent, plausible, and I believe compelling. You may ask, given that I respect him so, why would I out a man who wants his privacy? First, he always knew he would be outed. The only question was when and by whom. And I might as well get the credit. If you're aware of my work, you're aware that I've often been the first to know something, but I've had a lot of trouble getting credit for it. Maybe this time. Second, to bring honor to him, his university in Japan. I want him to have the appreciation he is perhaps too shy to seek, a modesty which is deep in Japanese culture, deeply commingled with that work ethic. Third, because I want him to get the Nobel Prize in economics that he so richly deserves. And fourth, so that I can address him directly, right now. Sensei, with your great and all-seeing mind, and your ability to craft multi-level and multifaceted solutions of motivation and politics and mechanism as you did with Bitcoin, I ask you to turn your thoughts and perhaps some of your next great projects to the compelling and less abstract problems of mankind. Nuclear weapons, or terrorism, or pollution, perhaps. You especially, as Mochizuki-sensei, or in your superhero cape, Satoshi-san, might well find another magic combination of structure and motivation and strategy that works to weave into the next silver bullet or system of gold that you leave us. Arigatou gozaimasu. And may the force be with you.